about Donald Trump, who has always claimed an exceptional level of fitness and well-being, well, they're going to come up, especially when that exceptional level of fitness and well-being start to change before our eyes. Like earlier this month when he appeared to nod off while hosting an event on maternal health with members of Congress. Or back in April when he was fighting to keep his eyes open as he had healthcare officials in the Oval Office. Or back in December when you can clearly see him struggling to keep his eyes open. But it's not just the apparent sleepiness, which frankly is normal at that age. It is his physical fitness as well. The swelling in his ankles, which after allowed public to his aggressive use of aspirin.
From falling asleep, visible health problems, and erratic online tirades raise serious questions about whether he is mentally and physically fit for office. Oh, wow.
What?
I'm sorry.
I did not expect that was the last thing.
Okay, we're just going to open it up. Of course, his mental and physical problems raise questions. That's no fucking doubt about it. He threatened to genocide 90 million people. So he's threatened to fall asleep in the Oval Office. Well, he's threatened. Yeah, sorry. He's fallen asleep in the Oval Office more than we saw Biden. He goes on delusional sycophant tirades on Truth Social at 3 a.m. Like, I think 2 weeks ago, in less than 2 hours, he posted 55 times, including an allegation that Obama is literally a demon spawned of the devil, saying that Obama had wiretap towers, saying that Obama worked with the CIA to overthrow the government in 2016, and saying that Obama is a traitor that needs to be thrown in jail. He's also posted other shit on Truth Social, literally depicting himself as Jesus Christ, or saying that Biden died and was replaced with a robotic clone in 2022. These things, like, very clearly call into question his fitness to serve and his mental and physical well-being.
Okay, the 25th Amendment.
Okay, so you changed your mind.
No, I'm saying that's all factually true. The 25th Amendment.
We disagree, right? So
I disagree.
Like, elaborate further.
I can't believe that he's criticizing you.
I mean, he's jumped on my neck several times here. He's like, we disagree on it. It's like,
Parker, why do you think Trump is fit for office?
I mean, he's doing the job, no? Why do you think Biden was fit for office?
We could talk about Biden. Well, I'm so sorry.
No,
I don't. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting. The reason why I'm interrupting is because it's always the but Biden. I don't know how you're pulling a but Biden on a Jubilee roundtable prompt that is explicitly requesting us to talk about Trump.
Because it's a fair comparison. Would it not be the last president?
Yeah, well, I don't think actually address the prompt without bringing up anybody else.
Yeah, let's just read.
Biden is no longer in office. Let's just address it.
Let me read.
Okay, so let's go through the examples. No, bro, I
don't need to read. Okay,
let's go through the examples. Let's go through the examples.
Of Biden?
Right? No.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for getting on top.
Falling asleep, right? Is that disqualifying for office?
We're not saying it like it's disqualifying for office.
No, he's mentally and physically unfit for office. It raises questions. Those questions go to disqualifying. So maybe I'm taking a jump. So let's just strictly stay there. Does that mentally fit? Falling asleep 3 times?
Well,
in 2 years, pretty much?
Yeah, 3 times.
6 times? I think 6 times in almost 2 years?
Yeah,
6 times in almost 2 years?
It draws his fitness into question.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a follow-up question.
He's only been in for 2 years. I also want to clarify.
Let me ask you a follow-up question. I got to say one thing. That's just
falling asleep. That's calling in these questions, although it does. But more so that in conjunction with the crazy rants on Truth Social. That in conjunction with the bruises.
That's fine. You said all this.
That in conjunction with
you know what I mean?
It's this set of items.
Okay, I got you. We're taking it one by one. We're taking it one by. Hold on, dude. We're taking it one by one. So falling asleep. What? You said 6 times in 18 months. Falling asleep 6 times in 18 months. You were just falling asleep a second ago. You're like. So is that disqualifying? Would you be mentally and physically unfit?
You're not the president.
Yeah. Well,
I'm saying. I'm trying to answer
agree.
the question.
So yeah, like A, I'm not the president. This is a Jubilee debate, not America. B, I wasn't falling asleep.
So being.
Hey, 1 second ago, you were like standing over in the corner taking shit on the ground. I swear,
I'm trying to
said it. Just because you said it doesn't make it true. What I was likely doing when you're accusing me of being asleep.
I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm bringing up something.
I'm rolling my eyes at you because.
And that's a false equivalency. He's a random. Well, he's not a random kid. People know Dean obviously, but he's obviously not the president of the United States. He's not in any authoritative power.
Okay, so the point that we're saying is that there are serious questions about their level of fitness. We would say the same thing is true about Joe Biden as well. There are serious questions about his mental fitness.
Good.
We both called for him to drop out after the debate. Well, we obviously did.
After the debate?
Even before I did as well. Like, let me just
good.
Like, we both did that. So the point that we would make is that just because there are questions of the fitness, doesn't mean the same level of fitness is in question. Like, I would argue, and you might think this is crazy, Joe Biden had a better level of fitness than Donald Trump right now, because everything you can mention with Joe Biden is unintentional. Everything I can mention with Donald Trump are the crazy things that he believes are utterly intentional.
There's a difference between one factor, right, contributing with other factors to potentially lead to a conclusion or a serious question. You're honing in on one factor when it's a conglomerate of factors, right? There's confounding variables and other variables generally, right? And those variables together raise serious questions. That's what it's all about. It's not that, hey, there's just the bruised hands and this is not enough. No, it's the bruised hands, it's the falling asleep, it's many of these different things. I don't think you should be disqualified. I don't think you should be disqualified. I'm saying this is what it's about.
And I would, if a child shows up to school one day crying, okay. If a child shows up to school one day with a bruise on their leg, okay.
Right.
But
with you every single day and her starting to like not do a lot of things she used to do for you and stuff like that. Like that adds up, right? And then that raises serious questions. So
mental and physical fitness.
Well, it may.
And again, not actually have
physically unfit for office. I agree. So be physically fit, but mentally.
Genocide 60 million people. Not so. If I had to say, in a very simple and concise way, why I don't think that Donald Trump is mentally fit to serve, the best example, prime example, is that he tried to end the American democracy when he lost an election. Dude's nuts. Why the fuck would anybody ever posit in their goddamn life that he's mentally fit to be our president when last time he was our president and he lost the 2020 election, he installed fake votes for himself in 7 of our key swing states to rig and steal the election from Biden? Like, no way. No way. He explicitly said that he posted it.
Okay, great. You have interpreted it that way.
I think that's rude the average 70-year-old. That's the historical Jesus clothing. He's not like any person to me look like a doctor. No reasonable person. You're really just trying to say watch it.
If you saw it,
no reasonable person at all would think he's a doctor. This is actually evidence that he's not physically fit. He actually legitimately believed. He also legitimately believed that he was a doctor in that scenario. That shows that he's so cognitively declined. He really can't even tell true from false.
Hold on, do you think that he believed that he was Jesus Christ himself?
Well, regardless,
I think he actually believed he was Jesus Christ.
That's the point.
I think a lot of it.
No.
I think a lot of it.
Do you know what?
I don't think we definitively know what Trump believes. So just like I don't definitively know what you believe. Maybe he's secretly homosexual or something. I don't know whether that's true.
I think he was just saying that, like, look at me, you know, I'm so good, I'm almost like a Jesus Christ.
I'm saying secretly, that's a possibility, right?
No.
Okay, that's not a possibility?
No, because I'm myself. I know whether or not I'm straight. I know that's right. You think I'm going to turn gay? Like, what are you
So you're saying that
the only group you're telling me who will push homosexuality on you.
Parker, you're gay. Parker, you're gay. You
didn't say that.
I'm straight. I'm not gay. What are you doing this
for? I think you're fighting this hard, man.
I've got to slow this part down. We got to hear this.
I'm saying secretly, that's a possibility, right?
No.
Okay, that's not a possibility?
No, because I'm myself. I know whether or not I'm straight. I know that I'm straight. Like, what, you think someday I'm going to turn gay? Like, what do you think?
Hold on, really quickly. So you're saying that
Hold
it's
on,
never,
guys.
you're a
The
liberal.
Conservative
You're a
Party
liberal.
folks.
I wanted to off
The
topic real quick.
only group
You're
of
telling me.
people who will push homosexuality on you.
Parker, you're gay. Parker, you're gay. You
I
couldn't be
didn't
gay,
even
Parker.
say that. I just said it.
I'm
Hey,
telling
you're
you right now,
it's
I'm
impossible.
straight. I'm not
So,
gay. Like, what are you doing this
I mean,
for?
the fact that you're fighting this hard, man.
We had a very lively discussion
He might
about
be a little sus.
whether or not Trump is mentally or physically fit for office based on the examples that MSNBC presented. Clearly, these guys don't agree with me, but it's okay. I'm right.
Oh my God, dude.
Artificial intelligence already touches many areas of our lives and affects decisions that shape human coexistence. It is also dramatically changing how war is waged. Artificial intelligence needs to be disarmed.
AI is becoming a threat to human dignity, and governments need to rein in AI before it's too late.
I would have agreed, but I just think it's more too broad or too vague, generally speaking. Like the whole thing with stopping weaponization of AI isn't happening. I disagree with the Pope and what he specifically said. I do believe that inevitably Russia and China will obviously use AI to weaponize it, and we already are weaponizing AI, obviously using intelligence and coordinating with strikes and so on and so forth, and using advanced technology like drones and changing how warfare is actually done in modern society. Instead of trying to end the weaponization of AI, I understand Pope would say that because he's the Pope, he's supposed to be a peacemaker and bring union. The truth is, and if we're talking about the geopolitical reality, if we're being a realist in this perspective, is that we do need to weaponize AI, but moderate it and make sure that the government has the best access and the best AI weaponry, so that if we do go to war with China or Russia, we aren't behind because of what? Because of feelings, because it's like, oh, it's bad, evil, or whatever. Yeah.
So I got a question before we jump into this. Did any of you guys read the encyclical, like the full thing he said?
No, I saw the clip.
Go ahead, you saw the clip. Yeah. Okay, because you just thoroughly mischaracterized everything he said. It was a little clip, but he actually talks about the distancing.
Sort of a point there, I guess. I don't know how I feel about that. I would probably need to know more about it. But it is a little worrisome, the things that you can do with AI, and I would not want Russia. Like, I wouldn't care that much about China doing it, but especially Russia.
Basically creating a gap in the process of killing and having AI fill that gap, automating murder. That's what he's talking about. That's what he means by disarmament. He means that there are systems where the human is being removed from the process of killing somebody else and it's being highly automated. And he talks about the dangers of that. In fact, he compares it to the Tower of Babel in the sense that it'll lead to ultimately a large-scale destruction of
What did he
humanity.
specifically say verbatim, though?
Bro, it's like a 10,000 word thing. I'm giving you a summary because you didn't even read it. Like, so I'm trying.
I mean, you're giving me the summary, but I don't even know whether or not the way you're.
I'm not misrepresenting. People are going to be watching this. If I misrepresented it, trust me, you'll find it in the comments.
But even then, like I think if AI does get advanced to the point where the human can not be like, obviously oversee killings, I think that's definitely something that I wouldn't mind seeing in the future in warfare.
You wouldn't mind seeing that in warfare?
Yeah, wouldn't mind.
Have you watched any of the kill cams that are happening in Ukraine and in
plenty
Russia
of them.
with all the drones?
Hundreds of them,
You
yeah.
watched it?
Yes.
Have you seen the nets covering streets where even when they do like EMP?
That's not because of AI, though, by the way.
No, it's not because of AI. It's because they're doing
technology.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
So they're doing EMP strikes to basically remove the ability for these drones to fly, and they're flying them on fishing lines, right? I know actual drone operators who like they've shown me footage of how they've blown people up. And honestly, I don't know if you're taking death at scale with this level of disregard. It's honestly concerning for your mental. Like I would be concerned to giving you any sort of reasonable responsibility, considering that you would want to kill people or have a machine kill people.
But you're actually strawmanning me quite a bit here.
You literally said that you were okay with AI automated murder.
So let me go ahead and respond to this. Ukraine has been using these drones defensively, which by the way has nothing to do with AI. They're not AI drones, to defensively stall out Russia and defend their sovereign country, which we have been supporting under both administrations. Okay, so yeah, I think that's a positive thing. Ukraine does not have the amount of men that Russia has. They don't have the amount of like firepower, and they can't just do a meat grinder forever. So them utilizing drones to mitigate Russia's offensive is a great and beautiful thing. But you're trying to strawman my argument here and make me look like some sort of a maniac, which is crazy.
No, I'm using your words to describe what you said.
I'll just take 10 seconds and I'll pass the mic back to you so you can go back and forth. Listen, I agree that Ukraine is a sovereign country and I stand by Ukraine and I have for years now. And I think that what Russia's doing to them is just despicable. And even maybe to a sense, I actually see where your argument's coming from, saying, well, they have to use drones because they don't have as many men. And like the official approach from Russia is just to throw as many men as they can at Ukraine. And the Kremlin doesn't care how many Russian men die. They just throw. So it seems like maybe that's the last resort that Ukraine is left with. But to call it beautiful, like listen, there's nothing beautiful about this last resort. I understand that in some senses it may be, but it's certainly not beautiful.
Okay, and so also, like, can we clarify, like, you do agree that it is a threat? Like, all of these.
Generally, like, this is why I said it's kind of like vague in a way, but like, generally speaking, do I believe it's a threat? Of course it's a threat, but I just don't like the wording, and I kind of like, I'm more of a dissident when it comes to this. But what I mean by beautiful is like them being able to protect their sovereignty. I'm not talking about like the visceral or vitriol actions in terms of people blowing up and limbs falling apart. I'm not saying that's beautiful, but I'm saying the fact that they're able to protect their sovereignty, I think that's the more beautiful part. But go ahead.
The whole discussion got derailed into Ukraine because I brought up this example. The central question here and what the Pope was talking about is the moral question around removing the human decision in the act of murder, in the act of killing, even in the war field. Because this could, and it very much will be used, this technology, outside of the war field. Like I've been to sheriff's offices throughout my district. I've met with the police chief in Glendale and Burbank, and I've seen the technology they're using to track everything that we're doing in the streets. And I actually saw them within a period of 5 minutes arrest somebody
that's
that
what
quickly.
I'm talking about. Like maybe the war thing is permissible. I need to know more about that. But I don't know. I don't like that level of surveillance where they know that much.
They had people out there in 30 seconds. This is an actual moral issue. Just how far are we going to automate these systems? And are we going to allow machines to effectively kill us without a single human being in the chain? So that's, and I mean, from the sense that I'm getting from you is that you're okay with having a machine decide to kill, let's say, your mother.
Let's say in the context of specifically warfare.
I think there are other uses for AI in combat rather than you know, other than just it deciding who to kill, or like it operating a drone and, you know, taking a drone to a specific site and blowing up a specific. I definitely wouldn't be for that, but just maybe like intel, you know, to help a human understand some terrain or something like that, you know, so that sort of thing. I'm sure there are other uses.
Domestic issues or civil issues here in America, specifically in the context of warfare. Let's say that China and Russia is using AI to kill our troops in warfare, right? And human beings are not signing off on those debts or specifically reviewing those debts. But that had become, like in this hypothetical, becomes highly advantageous for them to do so. Should we also engage in that to defend ourselves?
You're saying for us to use AI to kill people?
Yes, without direct
that's not what we're actually discussing.
No, I'm giving you a specific hypothetical to see whether or not you actually, like, where you hold. Like, are you saying, like, civilly, I would probably agree with you.
I'm not
but
arguing for disarmament.
But the Pope,
I'm discussing the moral issue around.
The Pope is more talking about warfare.
I think that we're actually kind of all missing the point here. Because when I first read this question, I read it as AI is becoming a threat to human dignity and governments need to rein it in. I read it as America needs to rein it in.
Okay, I
on the page it
more the Pope said,
says governments. Okay, like the world needs to rein it in.
Yeah, right.
And I think having that understanding, like you may even end up switching your color here, which would be really cool. Like, yeah,
Domestically, of course.
Of course,
Yes.
governments across the world, okay, should idealistically put this effort into reining in the power in which is vested in AI.
Right.
So idealistically, hopefully, we'll never be at the point where this moral dilemma of should we allow AI to kill other people before, you know, China and Russia allow
I would
AI
like
to kill
to
us.
actually
Right?
hear your answers on that. The mad nuclear is that's a good hypothetical.
It'll just never
there.
exist.
Not
So
necessarily.
based off of this proposition alone, governments need to rein it in
Seems like
idealistically.
they don't
Do
think
you
they
agree?
have a good
In terms of
answer
just
for it.
general domestic threats, in reference to AI, I would agree. But in terms of things that would be like, in reference to foreign issues, there's sort of like this competition between multiple different governments. I don't think we live in a multi-polar world yet, but if we do, these governments are going to constantly be competing for the most advanced AI weaponry, and they're going to try to weaponize AI. And that's what the Pope mentions, is the weaponization of AI. Reining in on AI and moderating it and making sure it's not a big threat domestically, I believe so. In terms of like what the government should do in itself.
Every country. No. We're just saying
Every country domestically or every country in terms of foreign policy?
Every
Which one?
country idealistically, okay, should rein in AI, given that we agree that this is just something that should.
Idealistically,
We're just saying
idealistically,
I think thing here.
idealistically, homelessness should end. Idealistically, everyone should have food. Idealistically, of course, I would agree with you, but I think that's very reductive.
Well, I think that this is an idealistic question.
Yeah, but I think there's more specifics to get into. So if we're going to specify further, I'm going to make this very clear. Just let me finish this point.
Kind of agree
Yes,
with Matt here,
like you're
bro.
talking about the surveillance data or people being surveilled. I think that should be questioned. I think we should know how much access the government, has to our data, our information, things in reference to flock cameras and monitoring people and text messages and how the world has been digitized. I think we should focus on that and talk about that and issue those civil domestic concerns. When it comes to weaponry being used in foreign conflicts and how that may conflict in a potential war and how advantageous certain AI equipment may be, I don't think the government should weigh in or rein in on in terms of moderating that. I think they should create the most sophisticated weaponry possible and wait to see what happens in warfare so they're not outgunned and they're not severely defeated. That's my general.
Well, I mean, even creating like the most sophisticated AI weapon possible or whatever, right, for like means of like personal defense, like the nuclear race of World War II. Still yet, I feel like those are the things in which should be moderated most. Like the more dangerous AI is, the more oversight and moderation we should have of it.
I agree.
I feel like so you agree.
I agree on that. Now, that's the thing. It's like weighing in on moderation. There's like a big difference here. Like I believe like all of our nuclear weapons anywhere, everywhere in America should be moderated, and should have like a multi-layer, sophisticated, sort of like step in order to launch it. So it's not like one rogue guy launches a nuclear weapon and like mad actually goes into effect, right? So I believe that AI should be the same. We do have the most sophisticated arsenal possible, right? But in order to deploy them or to use them, we should have a multi-layered system. So it's not just like roguely used or it's like misused. Or
So like
like
people
that.
overview the AI, you're saying? Isn't that kind of like
Not just that, like reviewing the AI to make sure it's not just like being like deployed randomly
before operation or after operation?
Before operation.
Okay, well, I agree with them then.
No, because I'm talking about like after operation. Okay, we're engaging in a conflict now. Like, should we use some AI systems that may not have direct human overview if it's militaristically advantageous? But it's a very complex.
Let's since we're talking about this and treating
bro?
it kind of like an arms race. Let's take it.
Didn't Parker just say he agreed?
Not just like being like deployed randomly.
Before operation or after operation?
Hold on. Let me slow it down.
Before operation.
Okay,
Because
well,
like
it
after,
seems
because
like you
like
agreed with him then.
no, because I'm talking about like after operation. Before operation.
Okay,
Because
well,
like
it
after,
seems
because
like
like
you agreed with him then.
No, because I'm talking about like after operation. Like, hey, we're engaging in a conflict now. Like, should we use some AI systems that may not have direct human overview if it's militaristically advantageous? But it's a very complex.
Let's since we're talking about this and treating it kind of like an arms race. Let's take it back.
Before we do, can we just like say, like, do you agree with the topic that AI is becoming a threat to human dignity and that governments around the entire world need to rein it in before it's too late?
Of course, we stop doing the government. Of course, like he's saying yes. I agree with that too, but that's not really a serious question. Let's talk about like what America should do.
I think it's too vague for me to do that. No.
Well, here's a hypothetical
to just agree that
I have a hypothetical that'll carve out later.
Bro, I agree with Matt here. Like,
The asking is, do we need moderation? Do we need regulation? That's all I'm asking, right?
Well, of course, but I think the whole like reining in and it being like in this being looked at as like this existential thing is right. I really think it's existential. I think it's being blown out of proportion.
Regulation, the need for regulation is existential. Can you agree with that?
Do you know what existential means?
Yes.
You're saying that AI right now is gonna like our existence will be in question.
I think that the idea is that like if we allow for AI to have complete control over these things, yes, there is. Like,
Well, no one's
legitimate-
advocating for that.
Well, I mean, that's what I think the question between you guys in terms of what you guys misinterpreted.
Okay, sure. I mean, I believe that obviously. I mean my point with domestic and foreign.
I understand disagreeing with in terms of the topic.
I actually have a hypothetical that'll help paint some of the point there. So earlier you took a position on Iran and the justification around that war being denuclearizing them.
No, multi-layered reason.
Okay, I'm not going to just go in and I'm providing an overview. That's what I'm trying to do. So I can go into the hypothetical. Hypothetically, if you were to
it's
find
not
out,
multi-layered. It's not multi-layered. There are just multiple reasons that are other than, just the nukes and just the uranium.
That Iran is developing this extremely advanced AI that will annihilate people, right? They could just drop off drones off of our coast and they could just track and kill everybody in New York City in 30 minutes, okay? What do you, as far as, now I lost the train of like how I was setting that up.
Would governments need to step in that
basically,
scenario
yes.
to prevent them from being able to have access to weaponry like that?
Of course, yeah, I think we all agree, right?
Then that means that you agree that we need to rein in AI before it's too late.
You're talking about governments generally speaking, though. It's not. That's why I'm saying it's vague, and it should be vague because it's one of those questions. But I mean, broadly, in the vague sense, I would agree. I disagree with the specifics. So we'll have to say that.
I think that you completely agree with it because earlier you're saying you agree with it domestically, but then disagree with it like
in a foreign sense, right? Which is why I'm saying
even in a foreign sense.
It's like, yeah, we're going to other governments and moderating them.
Go to other governments
right.
and moderate
I think
them.
we're saying like government should moderate. I think they're saying like governments domestically and civilly speaking, in reference to their electorate and their population, should moderate themselves. But if you're saying like in a foreign sense,
you just said domestically, yes.
Domestically, yes, of course. And I think in a foreign way, so I would agree domestically speaking, but I don't think we should rein in on moderation when it comes to foreign use of AI weaponry. That's the conclusion right there.
This is where Mayor Bass lives. You notice something? Or here, where Nithya Raman's $3 million mansion sits. They don't have to live in the mess they've created where you live. This is where I live. They let my home burn down. I know what the consequences of failed leadership are. That's why I'm running for mayor. For my sons and the rest of us Angelinos that want to stop these corrupt politicians from destroying our city. We are going to get the golden age of Los Angeles back.
Spencer Pratt's popularity shows how fed up voters are with Democratic leadership in big cities. Oh, wow. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think Spencer Pratt, his ads are absolutely amazing, including some of his AI ads. I've seen them, and they're really good. Speaking of, like, Mayor Bass, I think she has been an awful mayor. I don't live in California or Los Angeles specifically, but I've done some research, and it turns out during the 2025 California wildfire, she was actually attending a presidential inauguration in Ghana while her city was burning.
He posted about this on his story.
Down. And so that sort of leadership, I don't even know if I can call it leadership. I'll say that it's incompetency. And I don't think she has been able to articulate her positions or even accomplish a lot of things in California. There are still 45,000 homeless people in California. I don't think this is just like Democrat leadership in big cities. I think this is Democrat leadership in large states. If we're talking about cities, we can also talk about the former mayor of New Orleans, LaToya Cantrell, that was exposed for, one, actually using her bodyguard as her like boyfriend, and they would like steal money that was supposed to be meant for New Orleans people to travel around the country and misappropriate money. And there's so many different examples of this when it comes to Democrats.
Do any of you live in LA?
I do.
Yeah, that's messed up. If that actually happened.
What do you think about Bass?
I would prefer Nithya Raman.
Really?
Over Bass.
Why?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do agree with the fact that like you have to be able to respond to fire events and things like that directly on spot a lot quicker. I do think the response on that wasn't
such a stupid question. I mean,
quick as I would have wanted. So obviously I think that there is a notion to like prefer better leadership. Now this isn't representative of all Democratic leadership in big cities. It would be representative of specifically Karen Bass. And secondly, right, like what do you guys think Spencer Pratt is pulling at?
So last I saw, I think like 23 or 24%. He's pretty close to Nithya.
I'm not sure, but I don't think he's like likely to win, but I still like his general ideas.
Why don't you think it would be likely to
Hold on, before we go to that. Around 23, 24%. Would we typically say that like an opposition party getting 23, 24% of the overall like primary actually going to mean that like people are responding against Democratic leadership?
Well, here's the
thing.
thing.
The percentage of people who already were like sort of against the leadership already.
What is the current registration for Republicans in the state of California?
Well, we'd have to look specifically
So
at like,
this is a Democrat majority state.
It is,
in fact, we've had Democrat rule for about 60 years. In fact, we've had Democrat rule in Los Angeles for that much amount of time. I can't even remember the last time we had a Republican.
We have a better argument for saying that this is true for Puerto Rico.
But I'm just saying the numbers are representative. The reason why people are pointing to those numbers is because he is actually showing a tide turning as far as the sentiment around Democrat leadership. And obviously, like you said, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy,
right,
especially once Nithya Raman is out of the race and the Democrats consolidate behind Bass. Which is honestly, I think Nithya Raman is awful. I don't know how you could vote for her. She's been in city council for 6 years and done absolutely nothing. So it's crazy that she would be running for higher office.
Well, that's a good point. Like, I was going to just ask, like, what you do realize he's not a career politician, right? So the fact that he's seeing these numbers as a former actor is pretty crazy. That is to show the Democratic leadership in Los Angeles has been awful, and people are able to notice that.
That's unprecedented in modern politics. That an elite star or someone who's not specifically career
politician. It's not really. Hold on, guys.
I don't even.
Okay, let me bring it back to the data.
I mean, I guess I'm going to watch it just to see if Matt Nuclear pulls off this, cooked moment that he's been hyping up, where he just totally destroyed them. Because it hasn't gotten here yet. So far, he's been the only person that's been getting cooked by everyone there. And, but I don't know what to say. I can't give any insight here. I don't know, and I don't really care if voters are fed up with, Democratic leadership. I'm sure they are fed up with Democratic leadership in big cities.
Okay, he's polling beyond the Republican registration. Actually, the second most popular party in California is no party preference. So there are more people that are MPPs registered. So it's Democrats by about 40%. I think about 30-ish% MPPs, and 17% Republicans in the entire state.
Okay, so he's polling a few points above Republicans.
Yeah, and that's significant. Really that's significant because again, Los Angeles is seen as a D+35 stronghold. It's just something that's like, plus in a jungle primary, which is what he's in. Go ahead, dude. It's just difficult.
I just think that this conversation is a pretty dumb conversation to have. The reason why I say that is because Donald Trump won in the Electoral College and the popular vote in 2024. So if we were to sit here and say that the popularity of a politician indicates how terrible the policy of their opposition is truly like a false line of argumentation, right? Because we saw some of the very best domestic economic policy in modern American history from Biden. Then Donald Trump ran on.
No, wait, no.
Then he takes our economy. All this
No, hold on, dude. Wait. No, wait, no, hold on, dude.
And now all of a sudden, for the first time in a long
hilarious,
time,
brother.
there are less Americans who approve of the Republican Party and do approve of the Democratic Party for management of the economy, as we are now facing historical high surges in the price of gas per month, and so on and so forth. Listen, my point isn't to make an advertisement out of Biden and to dunk on Trump, but rather my point is to show that I think that the average voter, and maybe the 26% of voters who support Spencer Pratt, but a bunch of other ones too, aren't really evaluating the policy of an administration when they decide that they want to vote for or against them. They're just kind of going off of vibes and feelings.
Well, I think that's the main reason why a lot of people actually voted for Biden, or for example, Harris. It wasn't because I believe Harris actually. I mean, we're not going to really change the topic. I don't believe Harris is very intelligent. Do you agree that many people were dissatisfied with Biden and his cognitive ability and sort of his general policy toward, like right after the debate happened? Do you agree that people were dissatisfied? At least, you think they were wrong, but they were just, okay, great. Do you think it's intelligent that after you were basically, everyone tells you, hey, we're dissatisfied with your cognitive ability, your debate performance, we think the economy is not the greatest currently, and we aren't going to vote for you, and that's what the numbers are showing. Do you think it's then great, like a great idea, as like, let's say you're Harris's like campaign manager. So when you're asked, like, hey, what would you have done different from Biden, the person that everyone's dissatisfied with, to say, I can't name a single thing other than differently? Do you think that's an intelligent campaign?
That was stupid of her to do. For sure, that was stupid of her to do. I was saying that right after she lost. 1,000%.
That question is, would you have done anything differently, i.e., would you have implemented different policy, would you have run on different things, so on and so forth? And the answer to that question is no, so she was honest by saying no.
Right.
I think that an intelligent politician would say, no, I wouldn't change the policy, and then on top of that, ensure that
she would have been dishonest if she said, that she was going to be different than Biden, but she would have just been wrong. She should have been different from Biden.
Ran on a bunch of messaging surrounding why the Biden-Harris administration wasn't to blame for the gas prices we saw in 2022. Was it to blame for the 9%
That's not an intelligent campaign
pandemic? And all that I'm saying here, if I were to condense this down to like 2 sentences or less, is an individual point.
He's right about that. If we're going to talk about should she have gone and said that, like, condemned his handling of a lot of things, what would I have done? Would I have lied and said that, like, it was Biden's fault, and I'm going to change up how we address that? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done there. But I do think for sure her saying that she's not going to do anything differently than Biden did was a mistake.
It was intelligent for her to say that she wanted to change the policy because the policy is great, but on the more holistic point, it wasn't intelligent for the Democratic Party to not give as much counter-messaging to all the bullshit and propaganda and lies we heard from Trump that both of you likely believe.
Yeah, you apply that.
Whoa.
This
guy just throws accusations at the end of everything he says.
You apply that standard to Kamala Harris, but you would never apply that standard to Trump. Trump said we should nuke hurricanes to fight them, said we should look into disinfectant by injection to fight COVID-19, looked up in eclipse twice with his bare eyes, literally after scientists told him not to do so. I can count to that he denied the 2020 election results. We can point to the fact that he said he drinks Diet Coke because he thinks it kills grass, which means it kills cancer. All these things are literally delusional things to believe in. You put Kamala Harris a standard where if she says,
Let me respond to this.
You're crashing out.
Yeah, I'll respond to this, and then I'm going to send it back to you, and you're going to get us right back on topic, okay? Just really quickly, yeah, we agree that there's different conspiracy theories or different things in medicine that Trump believes in and stuff like that. That's totally different in a false equivalency to Harris after everyone knows that people are dissatisfied. Can you respond?
Is it intelligent?
No, it's not intelligent for Trump to say that. There's a difference.
We've got completely derailed.
Let me respond to this really quickly. There's a difference between not saying something or having a belief that is an unintelligent belief and having that as your, for example, policy proposal or having your policy prescription. If you're on Trump's website, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't hear anything about disinfected X, Y, or whatever. You wouldn't hear about that. When it came to Harris, let me finish. Epstein files were released, over 4 million files, over 4 million released. Oh my God, we should have more time. How many were released under the Biden ad? How many released under the Biden ad? Can I see Epstein's emails, 20,000 emails under the Biden ad?
Was there a legal?
Exactly, there was. Exactly. Okay, great.
Guys, we're moving on.
The conservatives started by making the point that Spencer Pratt's popular.
How many were released under the Biden?
Did Parker just bring up Congress? I mean, he'd be right about this, but it's not that much of a gotcha. Like, yeah, Biden didn't release it. The Democrats are just as corrupt.
How many released were under the Biden ad? Could I see Epstein's emails, 20,000 emails under the Biden ad?
Was there a legal?
Exactly, there wasn't. Exactly.
Okay, great.
Guys, we're moving on.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The conservatives started by.
I forgot. Yeah, it wasn't that the Congress just allowed them or forced them to do it. It was that now they were allowed to do it. I don't think they even could have. It wasn't up to them.
That Spencer Pratt's popularity does show that people in large cities are fed up with Democratic leadership. Parker responded by pointing out the fact Pratt's popularity does show.
All right, guys, we're moving on.
The conservatives started by making the point that Spencer Pratt's popularity does show that people in large cities are fed up with Democratic leadership. Parker responded by pointing out the fact that they only have a 28% approval rating, and this is representative of a very small amount of people, in which Matt responded to by saying, well, that's still actually pretty good for LA. In which I responded to by saying, well, I don't think that the average voter really knows what they're talking about, and they don't based on policy, but rather based on vibes. And then everybody responded by crashing out, getting mad, talking about random bullshit.
Oh, this is great. These guys are awesome. We're going to hang out afterwards and be friends. By the way, I do want to point the irony that Dean called me illiterate, but I was the only person at this table to read the 10,000 word encyclical. So
Are you a Catholic?
I am Catholic, yes.
Is anybody else at this table Catholic? No. Okay, there you go.
I mean, but you could have.
right.
No, but here's the thing. You knew you were debating. Can I say something?
We can't read
Can
that.
I say
We chose
something?
not to read
Can I
that.
say something? Since you're gonna, we were about to debate this topic. If you want to debate this topic accurately, you would have wanted to read it. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, my summary now I feel is that I think that we have had like interesting, intelligent, and I would say coherent conversations with these gentlemen. I think sometimes it got off of the rails and we went and obviously into different tangents and stuff. But I think a lot of very important points were made, and I hope that the audience can understand both perspectives. And I think that I think we did fantastic here.
I think this was the most insufferable debate I've ever done.
5
in
minutes
terms
after
of
this, just destroyed these guys. So fake, bro.
Jubilee roundtable or even debate in general on Jubilee. To be honest, a lot of it wasn't very productive. I would say I feel like there was just like too many interruptions to actually like engage in a meaningful dialogue. I don't know. I don't really feel like there was much positive conversation as compared to other times I've been on.
Well, my summary isn't a summary at all.
How many released from the Biden ad?
So here, Matt had a good point, I guess, which was that, yeah, Donald Trump does say a lot of stupid things, because he was saying that Kamala Harris, she was stupid. They somehow got on like, oh, Kamala Harris was stupid, and then Parker was like, oh, Donald Trump is stupid too. And he was saying that like, well, Kamala Harris, she was letting her stupid ideas affect her policies, where it was dumb to go along with what Biden did and support his policies. And she also, of course, because it's all about policy, it ended up becoming her policy. Whereas Trump, whenever he does every stupid thing that Parker brought up about vaccines and all these like stupid scientific beliefs that he has, he never like implements them into policy. These are just dumb beliefs that he has. And Parker, instead of doing what I'm about to say, was just going like, he started going off into like the Epstein files, and saying, oh well, look, he does do stupid, dumb policies, but you don't understand, Matt Nuclear wouldn't call those dumb. Like, those aren't what other people look at, what the Republicans look at as stupid. Republicans would agree with that. Republicans don't agree with a lot of his stupid scientific beliefs that he comes up with. But Matt Nuclear is saying Trump knows to keep, like, Trump can delineate between, fact and fantasy. And he keeps his fantasies separate from his, even as Republicans see it, fantasies away from his policy.
How many released were under the Biden admin? Could I see Epstein's emails, 20,000 emails under the Biden admin?
Was there a legal?
And they get into like a debate about Epstein, because again, under them, what Matt Nuclear is basically saying here is, I don't think that is stupid. We Republicans don't think that is stupid.
And having that,
so you're missing the point.
As your, for example, policy proposal, or having your policy prescription. If you were to go on Trump's website, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't hear anything about disinfected XXY or whatever. You wouldn't hear about that. When it came to Harris specifically, let me finish.
However, what I'm going to say to that is, first off, I don't agree that Republicans wouldn't think that these ideas would affect his policies, could affect, because when he does have, look, let me play what Parker said, the ones that he listed.
Nuke hurricanes to fight them, said we should look into disinfectant by injection to fight COVID-19.
Something he can do, he can allow us to nuke hurricanes. He can affect how the COVID-19 virus is treated and how the government behaves.
Looked up an eclipse twice with his bare eyes, literally after scientists.
Of course, the look at the eclipse one wouldn't matter that much, but the others, he said so far, would.
Told him not to do so. I can count to that he denied the 2020 election results. We can point to the fact they said he drinks.
Has a say in that. He can get involved with future elections.
Diet Coke because he thinks it kills grass, which means it kills cancer. All of these things are literally delusional things to believe in.
So actually, they can end up affecting his policies. So I would deny that it's that much of a false equivalence in the first place. But second, let me show you something else. Already, because of policies that RFK and Donald Trump have influenced into existence. Let's see, we have doctors around the world, around the country, are saying they are seeing more cases of serious, sometimes life-threatening illnesses that vaccines have long kept at bay, including whooping cough and bacterial infections that cause pneumonia or meningitis. So, actually, it is affecting policy, and it is affecting people. So you're just wrong. You didn't destroy them in anything. I mean, it's just the definition of all talk. His little TikTok story that he posted right after this. He said nothing of substance the entire hour and a half. Well, but at least I'm done now, and I know that he's pathetic.